Welcome to our practice final video. Congratulations on making it this far. You're almost at the end. I think this is going to be a really good experience for us. There are just a couple things that I want to go over before we start. So to give yourself the best opportunity with success in the final, I recommend that you just do a quick review, all of the notes that we have, every section, and also just a quick review of the practice questions. At this point, we're not just taking questions to learn, we're taking questions to assess where you're at, how test ready are you. So it doesn't make sense to do it the opposite way, where you'll take the final first and then go back, because it's going to get in your head. You're not going to score as high as you would have if you had studied properly before taking the final. So that is my strongest recommendation. One other little thing to note: questions on muscle action spectrum, muscle functions, biomechanics, including movements, planes, and terms. Those are going to be better to go back and review our notes, and more specifically, our practice questions, your independent quiz questions. The way that the test works is that it's all relative, right? If you are the person taking the test, 120 questions feels like a million. If you are the person designing the test, 120 questions feels like not nearly enough. So my goal with the design of the test, if you can pass this is going to be a little bit harder than the actual test. So if you can pass this, it's going to give you solid confidence that you're ready, or you're very close to being ready if you tie up a few loose ends. And here's why. We have it separated by sections with the exact number of questions that you're going to get from each section on the real test. But that only allows us a certain number of questions per section. So I have to be very, very intentional in what I pick. I want to do two things: make sure that all of the core information is there, is represented, is included, is reflected. You have a chance to hit on it and know if you're ready for that or not, but also to let it double as a review for us. So when you take the real test, the way that it will become kind of easier is that there are other questions that are more like, if you think of these like satellite kind of peripheral topics, not as much of the core information. Those are going to happen. Usually if you know the core stuff, then you're going to know that kind of by extension of it as well. The other reason that I like us to separate this out by sections is because then you can grade yourself. Do your whole grade when you're finished, but also grade yourself section by section so that you can see where are you strong, where are you weak. No, there's no need for emotion in this. Just let this be information that guides your next steps. So let's say that you have a section that's weak. Go back to your test strategy, ask yourself, is this important for me? Do I need to really shore this up? If you do, then you go back, maybe listen to the lecture again, even if it's on a faster speed, review your notes, the PowerPoint, even just the key points if you don't have a ton of time. And then what we're going to be able to do is kind of set your plan, right? So you're going to know how to approach the rest of the way before your test. That's all that this is. Even if you don't pass, if you're close, if you're not close, whatever it is, use that information productively, not emotionally. Use it productively. What is the work that should come next? So that's why we want to be able to grade each section independently. Now, conversely, if you score high on a section, that's it. Let it be done. Do not exhaust yourself studying things that you already know. If you know it, check it off. If it's good, let it be good. That is my advice. So our goal is going to be to pass. If you could do anything above passing, fantastic. And remember that on a NASM's account, they recommend when you're scoring 80% or better on the tests, on their practice test, then you're ready. There are some significant limitations to theirs. So I want to talk about this briefly before we also get started. They are limited by NCCA in how much information they can release to you that's going to actually be on the test. The end result is that you get these practice tests that are nothing like the real tests. I see this at almost every person that I tutor. We go through the same process that you've done. They do our practice final, they do fantastic, they're scoring over 80, they're ready, I know they're ready, no question in my mind they're ready. They take the NASM one, and then they mentally implode because they're thinking, what is this information? Where did this come from? This isn't what we talked about. This happens to everyone. Knowing that needs to be like a weapon for you, right? Instead of a weapon that you're just going to turn on you, right? You need to use that where you're going to not get sucked into that trap. So you can trust this to be a very good gauge. If you can pass this final, then I think you're in good shape to feel confident. Just make sure that you're also ready for those other sections, the muscle action spectrum, muscle functions, strong with the biomechanics. Don't break your back doing those if you're really strong in the other areas and you're struggling in those. So that's all going to come back to the test strategy. And hopefully you have just watched the test strategy video again before even venturing into the final. Okay, so the other thing with our design here, things that we want to lock in. This is going to be a lot of our Pavlovian responses. Remember, like you ring the bell, the dog knows it's time for a treat. We see anything with arms overhead, we think lats, that we're going to have these certain responses programmed in our brain, locked in there for the test. It's not about real life. Yes, it applies in real life, but it's going to be about the test. When we see this, we pick this every single time. So we want to use this as another opportunity to kind of take a pass through our Pavlovian responses. So sometimes people think it is cruel and unfair to have a practice test that is a little bit harder than the real test. However, I think of it like training with a weight vest. There's a reason we do that, right? That if you're going to have your body more weighed down, when you get into competition and you remove that resistance, then you're going to be more explosive. You're going to be able to produce more speed. There's not anything holding you back. And this is what happens consistently, that everybody I work with gets into the test and they're like, okay, you know what? It was easier than I thought it was going to be. That's what we want for you, right? We don't want you to get in there and be struggling. So one of the ways to do that is to have our test strategy, to know how you're trying to perform in each section, all of that, how you're approaching the test, but also that the things that you're going to be seeing in the test don't overwhelm your brain. So if we make it just a little harder, then it's not going to be overwhelming when you get into it. Okay. If you want to take other practice tests, I just always put an asterisk on that. Just beware. You need to be careful when someone who is not trained in developing tests develops a test. It might be great. It also might be so far off from the real thing that, again, it can get in your head, it can mess with your confidence. So I'm not saying don't do it. If you need more practice questions, I mean, we have like 1,000 so far. I think it's plenty. If you want to do more, beware of the one on NASM because they're restricted, right? They're legally restricted in what they can give you. But if you go to other vendors, it's going to be hit or miss. If you are performing well, and then you take something like that and don't perform well, just know that that's not necessarily a reflection on you or your learning. Okay, so the other thing that we're going to see here that is a little bit different. In the past, when we're going through the practice questions, what I like to do is type in, talk through as we're doing it. There's a couple reasons, because then it kind of creates more of a one-on-one tutoring environment. It also gives you time to read, to think, to process as I'm doing the typing. We're past that now. So we're kind of in a different mode. I have all of our notes already onto our master sheet with the answers. So what you want to do is just focus your eyes on each question as we're on that. Don't look ahead. Just really get trained to focus what we're looking at, what we're reading, what we're talking about, key points. What do we want to know? Because remember, our goal is always not just to get this question correct, it is to get that content correct, so that if they asked it in a slightly different way, or they ask the same question but the opposite of it, that you're still going to get it right. You are not in this like very fragile state where it must be worded one way for you to get it correct. If you know the material, then you're going to be ready to answer those. Okay, so yeah, then just last thing, if you haven't done those other steps yet, you haven't taken the final yet, my recommendation is do a quick review, maybe an hour or two, get yourself set up for success, and then resume the video at this point. Okay, so